He risked the lives of his friends after suddenly jumping out of a hot air balloon without a parachute. One of the most exhilarating activities that you can imagine is skydiving. That undoubtedly causes the kind of adrenaline boost that some people crave. This is usually something that everyone has on their life's ultimate bucket list, but very few truly have the guts to pull off the most audacious deed when the time comes. You always need a little assistance when doing something new for the first time, and in this instance, the instructor who is present is unquestionably necessary. The instructor's responsibility is to keep you safe, make sure you land safely and schedule the deployment of the parachute. This young Finnish adrenaline-crazed man decided to go all in. But he decided to take it a step further. Instead of taking a plane, this young man chose to leap from a hot air balloon. And he wasn't going to use a parachute, which was the twist. Lucas Korhonen had spent his entire life jumping out of airplanes. He loved the rush of skydiving. Lucas had plenty of practice jumping from such great heights, and it didn't frighten him in the least. Unlike the majority of us, Lucas enjoyed falling at 120 miles per hour and then flying through the clouds, as many of us fantasize about. One specific day, Lucas and two of his pals climbed into a hot air balloon with the intention of jumping off. But Lucas was only dressed in a plain t-shirt and shorts, and the temperature was quite low at this specific altitude. His buddies had a sneaking suspicion that Lucas was up to something, but they were unsure of what. Then Lucas picked up his camera and started talking. Lucas began to talk about a dream he had the previous morning in which he had the impression that he could truly fly. While first perplexed, his companions eventually understood where Lucas was heading with this and did not find it amusing in the least. At that moment, Lucas undid his parachute while giving the camera a smile, thus confirming what his friends were worried about. Even though Lucas was a stuntman and quite used to doing unusually crazy things, this one was taking things a little too far. Lucas's plan was to jump out of the balloon without a parachute. Lucas's friends immediately began shouting at him and questioning his sanity. But all Lucas did was smile at the camera. His friends were unaware that he actually had a plan. Lucas grabbed the parachute he just took off, held it for a few minutes, and then tossed it midair out of the hot air balloon without hesitation. Things didn't end here. Lucas then took off the t-shirt he was wearing. He wanted this experience to be absolutely amazing, even though it's beginning to seem like it's going to be his last. The events that followed and were captured on camera could easily have caused our hearts to stop. "Let's have some fun," Lucas says as he rapidly fixes his goggles, turns to face the camera, and dives off the balloon. His two companions leap swiftly in his rear. They intended to intercept him in midair before things got worse. One of the most heart-poundingly exciting moments in the history of skydiving, even though it makes our hearts skip quite a few beats. When he talked about leaping without a parachute, Lucas was not kidding. This was certainly liberating, according to Lucas, who even claimed to feel like a superhero in the movies. Even while it was liberating, it was still completely insane. Just before jumping, Lucas told his friends that he would always be at the forefront of any risks. He continued to descend at extremely high speeds. But, after they passed through a cloud, things began to drift away from the plan. Lucas didn't bother trying to get a hold of the parachute he had earlier thrown from the balloon. At that moment, Lucas's friends realized they had to intervene. One of Lucas's friends prepares to pull Lucas back to safety after another minute of free fall. This task is far from simple. He needed to get close to Lucas in order to properly hook him up. They managed to get close enough to hold hands while his friend prepares the hook. They entered a cloud at that point, during which his friend was able to latch onto Lucas' belt and safely pull him in. His friend grips Lucas as tightly as he can, knowing that a slight slip could make things worse. They had to find a safe landing spot now. After Lucas's success with the jump, He stated that he had been practicing this for nearly a year, and it was something he always wanted to do. Lucas already has plans of doing something that's even more crazier than this. Lucas has always been fond of doing the craziest stunts ever since he was a kid. He could now officially add jumping from a hot air balloon without a parachute to his resume. Sadly, Lucas passed away in May 2019 after a motorcycle incident at the age of 29. At such a young age, he made more memories for himself than most of us would make in a lifetime.